we go to the fan hotline to find out the latest on what she's hearing. She is Mary Kay Cabot from the PlainDealerCleveland.com, and she's on the hotline. Hi, Mary Kay. How are you?
I'm doing great, guys. How you doing?
Hi, Mary
Good.
Kay.
You wrote about it a couple weeks ago, too, so the big hoo-ha over the weekend because somebody national. It's like Jeff and I were saying, like, it's in the weeds sometimes, and people, like, I don't know why we end up giving credit. But anyway, I want to give you credit because you were out there and you said that you thought that the Browns could be buyers today. What made you think that, and do you still think that?
Well, I really had been reporting it out, and I had been writing that and saying that for a couple of weeks, actually, including, I think I probably said it on your guys' show, and I know other shows on 92 The Fan, that the Browns were not going to be looking to sell off guys like David Njoku and Wyatt Teller, but instead would be trying to be buyers and actually looking for maybe a couple of role players, not necessarily starters that would come in here right away and change the fortunes of the franchise, but some guys that could come in and help them not just for this year, but over the next couple of years.
So with that in mind, anybody on your radar?
Actually, no. I don't know really what they have in mind, but the only thing that I do know is that I've been told over and over, and Kevin almost reiterated this yesterday during his press conference, and that is that they really don't seem to be in the market for a wide receiver. So I had written that they were not interested in Garrett Wilson. That rumor had been flying around for a while, but I kind of tried to throw some water on that one. But I think in terms of any receivers right now, I just don't see them being in the market for one.
What are they in the market for? If they're not in for wide receiver, what are they in the market for?
That's our spot, Mary Kay.
Yeah.
I would have to think that offensive line would be a place to look because we all know that a lot of those guys have expiring contracts, and they're going to have to rebuild that offensive line potentially in the offseason. So that's a place that I would probably look. And, they're always looking for defensive backs because, Andrew Berry was a defensive back and Kevin Stefanski was a defensive back. So they really do a nice job on that position. So that's one area that you could always look to as one that they might fortify. But I don't have a really great handle on what exactly they would be in the market for, except I would probably say offensive line.
Tommy Rees will be calling plays moving forward here. This is twice in 2 years where Kevin has given up that responsibility, Mary Kay. If Kevin is back next year and Tommy Rees goes elsewhere, I can't imagine Kevin ever taking on play calling duties again. Can you?
Well, I wouldn't rule that out. And when I wrote my column last week saying that he should turn the play calling over to Tommy Rees, I wrote that he should give it another whirl again sometime. And I do believe that because he really hasn't had a chance to call plays with the quarterback that he wants to have in place necessarily as his quarterback of the future, as his starter. And I think he is a good play caller, and I think he deserves a chance to see what he can do when he has the quarterback that could be their franchise QB. So I wouldn't completely rule it out for him in the future, but anything can happen. This is a nice opportunity for Tommy to show what he can do.
What can he do? What do you think?
Well, I think he's going to run the ball. I think he'll focus on the tight ends. Maybe they'll play a little bit of a bigger type of offense. Maybe they'll have some more jumbo. Maybe they'll try some different things in the running game. I like the fact that they can get Malachi Corley out there on a nice jet sweep, and he can gain some yards. I think they need to do some creative things like that in the running game. And again, more tight ends. I think that David needs to be involved more, and somehow, some way, somebody's got to be able to flip the on switch for Jerry Jeudy this season.
Is there? So what are we expecting? Like, if I'm Kevin, I kind of like. In some ways, maybe he washed his hands of the offense because the talent's not there by handing over the play calling. I look at it, I'm like, Kevin's like, I had the same players. Maybe my perspective, and it was constantly talks about, we've got to do better, and so if he looks at it, he goes, you know what, I'm gonna put my hands up in the air, I'm gonna let somebody else run this, and now let's see what this looks like. And if it looks the same, are we blaming two guys, or are we saying the talent's not there?
Well, here's something to consider. They have already played the gauntlet of their schedule, the grueling part of their schedule, so many road games, 3 road games in a row, 4 out of 5 on the road. They've lost all of their road games. They played 3 really tough NFC North teams that had made the playoffs last year and are probably going to make the playoffs again this year. They have really been through the ringer with their schedule. Now they're heading into the softer, easier, cushier part of their schedule, which, I mean, it's kind of funny to say that when the Browns are only 2-6 because they can lose any of these supposedly winnable games. But this is the easy part of their schedule coming up here. And it's an opportunity for whoever is calling the plays to fare better than Kevin Stefanski did trying to call it with that particular offense in that time and place against that early, horrible part of the schedule. So maybe Kevin wanted to take the brunt of the schedule and wait and turn it over to Tommy when he wasn't going to be throwing his young first-time offensive coordinator under the bus and let him have a little success, because that is how Kevin operates. He doesn't operate from ego. He operates from what is best for the football team. So I think that's where this is coming from.
What does the upcoming schedule mean for Dillon Gabriel?
Well, it should be easier for Dillon Gabriel to have some success against teams that are not as fearsome as some of the ones they've played so far, although the Ravens seem to have gotten their act together. And, of course, we see they just got Draymond Jones. Good for Draymond. And then, we'll have to see. I mean, I don't think that the Browns necessarily want to be in a position where they're having to start Shedeur Sanders for 7 games. What if it doesn't work out? Then where do you go from there? So I think they want to give Dillon a longer on-ramp, but he's got to prove that he deserves it as well. So let's see what he can do against this easier part of the schedule with Cedric Tillman back, with Tommy calling the plays, hopefully for them with more running game, and then whatever else they come up with by 4 o'clock today.
What hasn't impressed you about Dillon? What has?
Well, some of the things that have impressed me about Dillon, his ability to absorb 16 hits and 6 sacks and keep getting up after that in one game. That was a really, really rough game for a young quarterback. And then handling weather, I thought he did a nice job of that. I think he manages the game well, but those are some of the things that have impressed me. What hasn't impressed me is that he has been, and his mobility too. I think he does a nice job of slipping and sliding away from trouble and scrambling and things like that. But what hasn't impressed me is his accuracy, especially when you get down toward, when you're throwing it into the red zone and the end zone. But it's a lot easier to be accurate if you have a receiving cord like Joe Flacco has right now, right? I mean, if Dillon Gabriel were throwing the ball to Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and Yossi Vash, maybe he would be looking more accurate and throwing more touchdown passes and having more success. So it's hard to say if it's what came first, the chicken or the egg. I think the Browns recognize that he doesn't have a super stellar supporting cast right now, and therefore he does need some time to come up the learning curve and deserves some time to come up the learning curve and see if he can't do a little bit better.
First, where do you think Shedeur's back? Let's start there. Health-wise, where do you think, or what kind of feeling are you getting?
Well, it's hard to say. I was surprised that he wasn't out there. I thought this seemed to be like a short-term thing, that he woke up with it that Saturday morning. It tightened up overnight after practice and whatever else on Friday. And then I thought that he would be okay by the time they got back this week, but he's not yet. So I would err on the side of caution. I don't think there's anything wrong with having Bailey Zappi be your backup quarterback right now, because in a situation where you would have to spell Dillon Gabriel for whatever reason, I actually think it might be better to have Bailey pop in there right now in that kind of a situation where you have to come in cold, off the bench, not be ready, not have the game plan that you've practiced all week and those kinds of things, because he has experience. He's been around for a long time. The game is slower for him. I would actually rather have him be thrown into a situation than Shedeur right now. I think Shedeur's first NFL action should come under better conditions than having to salvage a situation or just get thrown in there. So I don't know how this is going to go, but I would take my time.
I mean, do you feel like at some point they're going to switch? No matter, and let me put it this way: What does Gabriel need to do to make sure they don't switch? And I mean, or we're just destined to see Sanders at some point this season?
I think that the Browns would like to see Shedeur Sanders at some point this season, and I think he will play. And I think it'll be a little later, ideally, for them, because once again, you don't want to throw him in there. There are 9 games left. You don't want to start him now and have him starting for 9 games if he's not ready or if it's not going to work out. So I do think that they would like to see him at some point, but I think they want to see more of Dillon Gabriel now. They want to see what he can do. Once again, with said back, I mean, these guys have been trying to throw deep to Isaiah Bond. I mean, you need a bigger body in there for some of these red zone throws and throws into the end zone. So now they'll have that, and I think that should help Dillon a lot.
All right, last question. What is the headline then at 4 o'clock after the trade deadline? The Browns will have done what?
Well, I don't know for sure, but, like I said, I've been writing for 3 weeks that they would like to be buyers of a couple of role players. So I think they will try to pull that off, and I'm going to say that they will at least add one of those types of players, maybe 2.
Mary Kay, as always, thank you. We'll be watching and seeing what you're putting out there, especially on social media, and, of course, on Cleveland.com and The Plain Dealer. Thank you, Mary Kay.
Thank you, guys.
We'll talk to you soon. Mary Kay Cabot on the Fan Hotline.